Hey folks, welcome back again to Welcome to My World. I told you before that I would be back. Apologies for the lack of an intro song. Once again, we're having some minor technical difficulties, but stay with me. So what I'm about to do today is, I would say, one part masochistic. It's one part masochism. It's one part, an attempt at education, and it's one part just sharing and venting with all of you other ladies and gentlemen out there who have to put up with the inappropriate messages all the time. You don't have to be a public personality, of course, to have to deal with that sort of thing. Everyday people are more than likely nowadays to get unsolicited, dick pictures always from quote unquote nice guys, by the way, who are so nice that when you politely tell them you're not interested, they do, politely and kindly, of course, respond by calling you a bitch, whore, or cunt. Okay. And so, it's problematic. It's something that's not just some minor thing. I think a lot of people out there think, it's a minor thing. It's a minor inconvenience. Don't worry about it. But it changes the way that you look at people in general. And I'm not saying it gets to you like, I feel bad about myself, but it gets to you in that your perception of other people tends to change after experiencing prolonged exposure to this. And like I've mentioned before, it does help you to improve the tools in your toolkit, and it helps you to improve your ability to discern whether somebody is being genuine or whether somebody has nice guy complex and is just setting out to be a complete disgusting pig by saying things that they think you might want to hear to seem nice. And that is a very good skill to have. I tell you, it is. But the way that we go about getting it is just downright ugly sometimes. Without going totally nuts and reading you everything in my inbox, I'm going to read you a few little gems. If you consider yourself a nice guy or woman, it happens with women, please think about it before you send a message like this, because it's not kind, it's not nice, it's not respectful, it's not helpful, and it's disrespectful. It's problematic and disrespectful. Okay. So I'm going to look back and see where some of these conversations begin and end. Okay. Oh, all right. So a gentleman who is related to a friend of mine that passed away messaged me. He had messaged me a few times with creepy kind of like innuendo and inappropriate sexual messages, after which, because he was a relative of my friend who died, I figured he might be actually struggling. I, just respectfully would say, okay, well, thank you for your interest. I'm not available right now. I really, if you're hurting and you need to talk to somebody, I'd really love to hook you up with the right therapist or person to talk to, because I know my dad just died too, and I know how grief can play with your mind. Basically giving him a chance to say, I fucked up, okay? I shouldn't have said what I said. I'm grieving, I'm hurting, hoping he would take that out that I had just given him, and he didn't. So here is part of the ensuing conversation. Okay, so I had said, like I mentioned before, I had said, have a good night. I'm going to put an end to this conversation. Let me know if I can hook you up with somebody that you would like to talk to professionally. I'm happy to help you in that way. Really so sorry for your loss, and have a good night. So he says, Dominique, is that your real phone number on your Facebook page? Doesn't tell me why. This is like several days after the fact, after we had last talked. A much older gentleman, somebody who should not be in any way hitting on somebody who's like in their early 30s in any fucking way whatsoever. But yeah, is that your real number in your profile? And my response is always very professional at first. Give him a chance again to kind of back out and say, yeah, you know what? I was being inappropriate. You're right. I'm sorry. Because everybody fucks up. Everybody is guilty of saying or doing something dumb at one time or another. So I say, if any numbers have been shared, they are my business numbers, which are for my business or for the use of my business. This doesn't feel right, especially at this time of night. It was like 3 a.m. when he sent this to me, and I happened to be up. But I wanted to nip it in the bud right away, even so. And so I wished him a good night. Here's another message. Again, right after my dad died, which is creepy. Okay. This creepy guy, I'm not going to use his name, messages me. I've never talked to him in my life. No idea who he is. Are your pictures real or fake? Again, right after my dad died, not trying to fool with this nonsense. And I just said, what do you think? Based on your own assessment, I'll allow you to answer that question for yourself. Have a good night. Well, I think you're extremely beautiful. Are you Eastern European or dad, which is always what I get asked. Are you Russian or black or Native American? You know, kind of like, ooh, we're not going to mention those ugly things over there. So you must be Russian, right? You're Eastern European, right? And it's just creepy and inappropriate. Nobody needs to ask you what you are. That's so disrespectful on so many levels. I'm a human being with many parts to my genetic makeup that are my business. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. So my response when he kept asking and guessing about my race and my background and my, culture was, gosh, that's not the question I asked. If you wanted to know whether my pictures were real, that would be one thing, but I don't answer questions about my race or ethnicity. That's not on the table for discussion. Have a great rest of your evening and have fun. He continued to message me with lewd and disgusting things, so finally I said, this is unacceptable. I'm not a figure of fun, and I'm not here to have my looks, my race, my ethnicity, or my every picture evaluated by the likes of you. Unless I have an actual sign on my page that says, we'll call him John Smith, please incessantly bring up my fucking looks and message me over and over at 2 and 3 a.m. while I'm trying to live my own life privately, then please kindly refrain from doing so. You have absolutely no idea whether I am single, straight, or even slightly interested. And you have happened to interrupt my night several times while I am in the process of grieving the loss of a loved one. Please take a grain of dignity, a modicum of dignity and class, and excuse yourself from this conversation. He messages me again, and I just said, cease and desist. You have made an enjoyable night speaking with some out-of-state friends via Messenger. Absolute hell. I'm going to block you right now, which I did. Okay. So just, and I'll get stuff like, oh, hey, here's another message. You're so beautiful. You've got to love me. I'm awesome. I'm going to show you how much you've been missing in your life. Excuse me? And then after not responding, and not responding some more, good night, sweetheart. I look forward to hearing from you soon. What the actual shit? Eesh, creepy. And, this is not in any way an outlier. This is an everyday occurrence, I would say, which is horrifying. Recently, somebody was calling me incessantly over and over. I responded to this person who was like harassing me via phone with a none too kind, we'll say, reply, asking if they were calling about the bag of dicks and saying that I'd be happy to send that to them if they could just let me know where, and that it would be signed, sealed, and delivered. Like I said, I usually try to first respond to things professionally, but it's not always possible. Here's a great one. A guy I'm actually acquaintances, we'll say, with began sending me pictures of his undressed body without any context, without me asking for them or expressing any interest, without any lead-in to the discussion, nothing. So my response was cool. Because I know the guy. I'm like, cool. And what's going on here? And the next thing he says is, this is again a totally different guy. I just went through like 2 or 3 conversations with dudes that were totally unsolicited. Here's yet another one. So shots of his undressed body. And I'm like, cool, what's going on here? I had a good body shot today. I don't know what that means. That I took earlier. I've never felt better. And I say, good for you. And then he responds with, I'd show you, but there's more nudity. LOL, winky face. And I respond later on that day with, well, it's probably good that you don't then. It's probably good that you don't. And then he responds with, I won't. And I respond with cringy face. And he responds with, what's that face? I respond with a cringe. He responds with yet another picture. Totally appropriate, right, guys? Totally appropriate. So a cringy face indicates to him that I am, in fact, looking for another picture. And then here's another one. And these are mostly in my filtered messages, and people who usually end up being blocked when I do try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't answer every message, of course, or every creeper message, but if it's an acquaintance or something, or God forbid a business contact, I will try to do my best to be respectful, polite, and professional, just remind them of their relationship with me, which is that we're just acquaintances and that this is inappropriate. So I get this goofy puppy dog chihuahua face from this guy I've never even talked to before, saying thank you, and then another heart emoji. And I don't know, several days later sent through a question mark. And he says, just saying thank you for the ad, Angel, and have a beautiful weekend. So, again, quite some time later, I say, okay, have a good one. And then he says, thank you, smiley face. Hi, have a beautiful weekend, hun, after I don't respond. And then, again, several days later, have a good night, Angel. Kisses. You're very sweet and beautiful. Stay true. Oh, these are all different messages, folks. Stay true to yourself. You're a very good person and kind and beautiful. What a sweetheart, Dominique. Kiss, 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 heart, heart, kiss face emoji. I say, have a wonderful evening. And then he responds with, you too. And then he has to add later on, you should be a model. Beautiful, sexy. Ugh. I say, okay, I appreciate the compliment very much. I really do have to get going. Have an amazing night and don't let the haters get you down. Must go. And then he says, okay, Angel, be safe. Have a good night too. XOXO. And then, like, again, days later, he comes through saying I don't understand what this means, folks, so bear with me. A spider, and I think this was in regard to something he wrote on my Facebook page. And then he says, clever girl. And I said, yep, that's what I thought. That's what I think you said on my Facebook page. I say, that's what I think you said on my Facebook page. So, again, this guy's an acquaintance. I'm just trying to say, yes, I saw your comment on my Facebook page, and I see that you're repeating it now. What's going on here? Like, we're not having a dialogue, basically. What's the problem? Why do you keep messaging me with random stuff? Okay, so after I say, that's what I thought you said on my Facebook page. Like, I saw it, I read it already. He says, oh, and you're cute too. Oh, and you're very sweet and sexy and beautiful. And then again, later on, where are we? Thank you, sexy. Okay, what does that mean? I didn't say or do anything. I just existed. And then later on, days later, and this person is friends with some of my friends, so I don't want to be a total dick to him, but he's just getting on my last nerve at this point. So some days later, you look in the mirror, you see what you saw. You take the saw and you cut the table in half. 2 hands make a hole and you climb out the hole. This is apparently a mind puzzle that he has made up on his own. Gosh darn it, I guess they just didn't publish it in Mensa Weekly. Darn the luck. Ugh, next time, right, my brother? So, this friggin' weird, like, tongue twister ass, like, mind puzzle comes through, and I'm like, I don't say anything about it, because he just sounds unhinged right now. And then winky face, then you're stunning, XOXO. Then I respond much later on, I say, shouldn't you have worded the riddle a bit differently? If you wanted folks to understand it. And then he says, you're beautiful and sexy. And I say, And again, he says, you should be a model. Your beautiful face and sexy body. Ugh. Heart. And then I finally put a close to this everlasting bullshit by saying, I'm not really up for discussion about what others think of how I look at this time. I'm going to hope that was intended as a compliment, but it doesn't feel like one respectfully. So that's going to be enough. And then he says, sorry, it was a compliment. You're very beautiful, hun. And I say, you know what? I said that's going to be enough. And that means that enough is enough. It's not a compliment when you weigh in on someone's looks in lieu of nothing. I did not ask for your opinion, and you're taking what you're saying to the point of being extremely socially inappropriate. This is never an okay topic for discussion. I mean, it's like he just cannot take a clue. It's horrifying and embarrassing. Yeah, and I've got so many more here. I'm just trying to look and filter through a few of them. Here is a guy telling me, because I didn't answer his message, that within a couple of hours that I'm a cunt. Great. Oh, and then here's a guy who had been stationed outside of my home with some sort of a camera in his hand. A private investigator friend of mine, after I had reported having this issue to him, looked him up and found out who the guy was, and presumably respectfully asked him to step away from my home and stop, filming me, which is creepy. I mean, we assumed that's what he was doing with the camera outside for hours and hours on end. It was really kind of scary, and again, right after my dad passed away, and just disruptful and disrespectful, and just a difficult thing to have to deal with at that time. So where I used to live, I was on the ground floor, and, you know, people could see in. So, yeah, there was security, but people could see in. Thankfully, where I'm at now, I don't have that problem. We've got extremely high security. Everything on and around the premises is on video 24/7. We have door people. You know, nobody would dare try and get in here. Or even hang outside and try to take pictures in someone's window or something, because our security and or the police would definitely take issue with that. But anyway, so I just background. So I get a message saying, please leave me alone. I haven't done anything to offend you. I'm not bugging you or annoying you, so leave me alone. Really? You're not bugging me or annoying me at all by standing outside my house with pictures and cameras and just standing there for hours and hours staring in? You're not? Oh, okay. Well, in that case. So, you know, just the level of how do I even want to put this? The level of assumed just privilege and assumed, access to not just me, but to women in general is just horrifying. Why would you think that it would be in any way, for any reason, at any time, okay to stand outside of someone's home and look in with a camera and stand there for hours on end? And why would you be surprised if a private security company, who I happen to be friends with the owner of, contacts you and says, please cease and desist, right? Why would you be in any way surprised about that? If anything, I would think, you know, were I this guy, which I wouldn't be, I would think, oh my God, I feel horrible. I've been such a jerk. There's no way I can apologize enough to this person. I'm just going to leave him alone. I feel terrible, and I'm just going to back away slowly and leave him alone. But apparently this guy feels so entitled to be able to stand outside people's houses, looking in with cameras, ostensibly taking pictures. I kind of let my friend deal with that, and I didn't get involved in what he may or may not have taken pictures of or videos of. But, you know, the fact that he thinks that he's just got unfettered access to me, and that me asking or having someone essentially ask him to step away and respect my privacy and my space is inappropriate. The fact that he thinks he has that kind of access to me, that he thinks that he should have that kind of access to anyone, is just, it says a lot about him as a human, and I think it says a lot about just entitlement, a really sort of disgusting level of entitlement and kind of entitlement. And it's disgusting. It's horrific. And then, of course, getting messages like these on a regular basis, you know, while I truly don't care what individual people think about me. I mean, as long as I'm acting with as much respect and dignity and kindness as possible, and I don't lose the respect of people who I care about and respect myself, then I truly don't care what individual people think about me, given, you know, those parameters. But even so, it's daunting sometimes for a second to like realize that your life is going to be you know, in addition to many other good things, is going to be a string of these constant messages and this constant level of harassment and this constant feeling that people seem to have of, oh, well, this person is a public personality, so clearly I'm entitled to their private moments, I'm entitled to their attention, and if they don't choose to acknowledge that I'm entitled to their time and to their attention and to interactions with them, then I'm going to go on a rampage telling everyone what a bitch, cunt, and whore they are. I mean, my goodness, we all get to choose who we spend our time with, who we speak to, who we interact with, and frankly, to assume that somebody owes us an interaction or that somebody owes us an answer to that message or those constant calls, or that somebody should totally be okay with you standing outside of their house, camera in hand, looking in their window for hours during the nighttime after they just lost somebody they loved, for crying out loud. That's like an unacceptable level of entitlement. And it's a privilege and an entitlement that's not only not earned, but truly it's not deserved. Nobody gets to decide who gives us their time, energy, or conversation at all. We don't get to decide that for other people. We have to be able to, I think, respect people's agency, and we have to be able to respect people just on the whole, and respect that it's their decision to make. We may not like it, but that doesn't mean that it's appropriate for us to, name call and send presumably messages that are intended to be humiliating in some way or derogatory or disrespectful. It's not okay. We don't have that right. That's not something that's afforded to us in the Bill of Rights. It's not like, oh, and then we have the right to call any woman who doesn't respond to our catcalling or our street harassment or our inappropriate messages a cunt, bitch, and a whore. No, that's not in the Bill of Rights. Get that out of your head. So I'm going to read you a couple of interesting messages that I have found online as well. A lot of people share these sort of inappropriate messages, and so here a few of them are. This one is a real doozy from the Good Men Project. I'm not sure if that website is active anymore, but I always liked it. So, creepy guy. Hi, how are you? Well, I think I have an idea why you are here. To the woman who's on a dating site who apparently is over 40. It says so in her profile. So, hi, how are you? Well, I think I have an idea why you're on here again. Because you refuse to settle for less than what you want. You should get the guy whatever that means, the perfect guy to your standards. Great utilization of the English language. The only problem is that we will keep looking for the perfect guy, or in my case, the perfect woman, which doesn't exist, and before we know it, we've passed the window, or our chance to start a family, build a life with someone, whatever that means. Now we are thinking about adopting. Geez, that took a fucking serious turn. What? We're thinking about adopting? I haven't even messaged you back, for Christ's sake. Because we're so picky when it came to choosing a partner in our past. Damn. Okay. Damn, I see it time after time and heard from many women. Yeah, we just bet you did. I just hope you find what you're looking for before it's too late. Food for thought. Hit me if you want to talk more. And the woman responds by saying, very politely, thanks, but I already have 2 kids, so not worrying about my eggs getting stale. I hope it's not too late for you, though. And apparently she posted this on a social media page and was met with a bunch of men defending it, sadly, which I'm really sorry to hear. Okay, like this one. This guy is making a valid point. Really? that got lost in all the other stuff. I've met many people who claim they want a truly healthy relationship with someone with whom they can share their life, and end up meeting all sorts of great people who they end up writing off and dismissing, because in reality, no one could live up to and embody what some are looking for. Well, poor me, I'm a nice guy. I added that last part myself. Wow, that is incredibly disrespectful, and it just subscribes to this freaking bizarre notion that women ignore the nice guys for the jerks. Well, let me tell you something about that, folks. Again, no one is entitled to mine or anyone else's attention or time or conversation. Nothing like that. I'm sorry, it hurts to hear. It sucks. I know it does. But when you're on the receiving end of it, it sucks, but it's true. And if somebody is unable or unwilling to devote that time and energy to you, why would you continue to pursue them? Are you even looking at them as a human being right now? I would like to challenge that notion. I think you're probably looking at them as an object. And that is, that's why you're lonely. That's why you haven't found anyone. It's not because you're a nice guy and all women date jerks or whatever. It's because you're looking at people as objects for your advancement and for a transactional situation. I give you the fake nice, you gives me the sex. Well, that's not how relationships work, is it? That is simply not how relationships work. At least not healthy relationships. Maybe super codependent, narcissistic, and sociopathic relationships, but not healthy ones. Here's another one. Hi, I'm Chris. You're sexy. What are you up to today? Hi, Chris. I was just sitting around hoping some guy would still want to fuck me at this age. What do you think? Yeah? Drooly smiley. Cool. Only trouble is, I don't believe in premarital sex. Do you want to call the pastor or should I? And of course, the message ends. And the woman explains that although she was a bit snarky in her reply, which, yeah, she was, and I have been too, especially after, dozens and dozens of those messages, that she says, any guy who's 14 years younger than me, who opens up with sexy, is probably only looking for one thing, and my profile shows that I'm looking for something different, and that I'm not up for that. And he still chooses to send this message. He's not respecting my choices, essentially. So, I could go on and on with this. It's a really sad statement, and it's a sad situation. It really is. What I would say, as I guess my advice to anybody who maybe does engage in this kind of behavior, is look at your own motivation. Are you looking for somebody to fill your time, to fill up your ego tank because your ego tank is on empty? Are you looking for somebody to give you sex because you've earned it by the nice, which is not how relationships work at all? That's extremely dysfunctional and alarming, actually. What are your intentions? What are you looking for? Because 9 times out of 10, the narrative that you're engaging in with yourself, the dialogue, the internal dialogue you're engaging in with yourself, is not matching up with reality. Your reality has become a bit far removed from shared reality, okay? So what I'm saying is that perhaps by evaluating your viewpoints, all sarcasm and comedy aside, if you look at your own viewpoints and evaluate them and just try to be as honest with yourself as possible. Look, you don't need to explain yourself to any of, even the women that you've reached out to. You don't need to explain yourself to them. Just stop sending the creepy messages, even if you don't think they are creepy. Stop sending them. Then take a moment, sit with yourself, evaluate, think on the situation, and see what you come up with as far as why you feel that you have to do this, what you're trying to accomplish, what are your goals, what are you looking for? Is it about me, what I want? Or are you perhaps ascribing wants and needs to some other person who you maybe haven't met or haven't gotten to know? Perhaps, and I see a lot of guys and women do this in my practice. I hear and see a lot of people say things like, well, I'm a good catch. I'm a good guy/girl. I am a good person. I'm a good catch. Anyone should be happy to be with me. Really? Anyone? So, for instance, I don't know, let's say you're a 65-year-old man. So, like 17-year-old girl should be happy to be with you? I don't know about that. So somebody who is just not looking for a relationship should be happy to be with you? Well, why? So women should just be happy that you're messaging them, or men should just be happy that you're messaging them and that you're saying things that are inappropriate. People should be happy that you're making assumptions about what they may or may not want based on outmoded tropes and beliefs and outmoded archetypes that really never existed anyway. I mean, there is this kind of notion, I think, that needs to be further addressed, wherein, again, men in particular, and I don't mean to bash on men, I think quite a bit of men, and I think that they are doing themselves the biggest disservice here. They're hurting us, believe me, they are, but they're doing themselves the biggest disservice, because men are so much greater than this, so much better than this. And, I feel like society is kind of kneecapping them, too, by putting these bizarre expectations onto them. But because of that, I will hear people who maybe aren't as socially mature and introspective as they should be if they're looking for a relationship, say things like, well, I'll provide for her or him. I'm going to provide for them. And because of that, basically, the inference is, or the assumption is, and they owe me sex, or they owe me emotional support, or they owe me filling a hole in my life so I'm not lonely anymore. Yeah, that's problematic. That's not how relationships work. Relationships are based on both confidence in yourself and actual genuine interest and respect for one other human being, one specific human being, not just any other human being. Well, one, or maybe you're polyamorous, and one or more other people who you're specifically interested in and who you specifically have an amount of respect and feeling for that you don't have for other people. That's why that relationship to you is special, right? It doesn't work to just find the first person to come along to fill a hole in your life, and it certainly doesn't work for you to have this grand list of what you want in someone else, and then have sort of a corresponding list of things you won't accept in other people. I don't date fatties. I don't date Asian chicks. I don't date black men. It's like, yeah, no, you're being stereotypical. Perhaps you will find a black man that you find to be very attractive because you think that you don't think every black person is attractive doesn't mean that one day you won't think that a black person is attractive. Like, that's kind of shitty, and that's kind of racist. Just like it's inappropriate to think, well, any woman should like me, but I'm looking for this exact type of woman only. Okay, but why should any woman like you when you're looking for that specific type of woman? Why do you have complaints about someone else being as specific as you're being and as exclusive as you're being when you don't have any problem with you being that exclusive? Do you feel me? I hope that made sense. It's a really problematic situation. Relationships are not transactional, my friends. They're not. They're much more than that. Relationships are much more and much deeper than that, and should be much more meaningful than that. whether they are monogamous or not, no matter what your gender, sex, or orientation is. And I think that we do ourselves, again, as well as others, a disservice when we send inappropriate messages and make disgusting comments on the street. And look, I know women are guilty of it too, and I will be the first to freely admit that. I agree. I have seen some pretty disgusting instances of that myself. However, men are encouraged to behave this way. It's very common with them. And I understand it sucks to be called out on a behavior that you may or may not be engaging in, but are probably helping to keep alive in some other way, even if you're not engaging in it directly yourself. It sucks to have to be that introspective. It sucks to be called out on something like that and then to have to sit with it. But I guarantee you that nobody is telling you you're a bad person. At least my goal is, I can't speak for everyone else, is getting the information out there, sharing other perspectives, and letting folks know that, hey, this behavior is problematic. And if you are the caring, quote unquote, nice, kind person that you claim to be, you will respect that and you will take that and you will sit with that and you will think about that and consider it and really, toss it around and see if it sticks for you. You're going to think about it, sit with it, ask yourself questions about it, be introspective. Don't just immediately react and say, well, that's not me, feminazi. This really transcends feminism, MRM, whatever. It transcends all of that, okay? It does. It's about being a decent human being. Plain and simple. Do you feel me? Okay. So, I really hope that has been somewhat cogent and somewhat easy for people to understand, particularly if this is something that you haven't thought much about, particularly if this is something that you feel strongly about as well, if it's something that you feel like you're being attacked for, like I'm being attacked for being the proverbial nice guy or nice girl, right? So I want to talk with you about that. And I really do hope that you'll sit with some of this and think about it, okay? It's definitely not a, hey, buddy, fuck you situation. It's really a, hey, I hope that you will be able to improve yourself to the point where you don't need to utilize this outdated social construct, right? I hope that you can improve yourself to the point where you're ready for a relationship. We can all improve ourselves. And I hope that you'll be able to. That's truly what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying you don't measure up, you're a bad person. What I'm saying is, if you're engaging in this behavior and if you're supporting this behavior in any way, you may be part of the problem, and that could be why you're experiencing difficulty in your interactions and in your love life. Okay. And I'm going to look up one of the articles that I had bookmarked that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Please forgive me, it's loading. Okay. So I wanted to discuss with you guys a particular issue here called, I don't like the exclusive name here, but it's called the nice guy syndrome. That's not a thing. It's called the nice guy syndrome. And I really do believe firmly that women have their own version of it. We have our nice girl syndrome. It's a real issue. It's a real issue. And I think it plays into what I had mentioned before. It's very interesting because this is something that's been fed to us over the years in tropes, in stories and movies, in all manner of sort of pop culture, societal references. It's really, really problematic. And I happen to think that it does not give men enough credit. I think it doesn't. I really do. And so without further ado, and I am going to include this in my description of this episode, so you can click on the link and read this, but I'm going to read it to you in case you just are a little lazy and you don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to include this. It's not my work. This is from a website called Bustle, and I want to read a little bit about this whole nice guy syndrome. And please remember that as we go through hearing that term nice guy syndrome or nice guy syndrome, trademark nice guy syndrome, please realize again that there is an equivalent for women, for girls. So we're not just singling out the guys. Although it does seem to be particularly problematic with dudes. Okay, so here we go. In the words of Susanna Weiss from Bustle, what is nice guy syndrome? 5 signs that a self-proclaimed nice guy isn't all that nice. An open letter addressed to quote-unquote ladies from an anonymous man has been posted all around what is likely Toronto, though the location hasn't been confirmed, and is making its way around the internet. What's remarkable about this letter is that it contains all the textbook signs of nice guy syndrome. A man describes in benevolently sexist terms. I have been talking all day, y'all. Don't judge me, or do. Just don't tell me about it. Okay. A man describes in benevolently sexist terms why he's so nice, puts down other men for not being quote-unquote nice, puts down women for choosing these quote-unquote jerks, essentially, over him, blames women for having very rational trust issues, and implies that these women have wronged him for not dating him. And perhaps most characteristically, he describes himself as one of the quote-unquote good guys, which is almost always a surefire sign that a guy is not actually good. Nice guy syndrome is a term used around the internet to describe men who believe they are entitled to women because they're quote-unquote nice guys. According to the Geek Feminism Wiki, the terms nice guy TM and nice guy syndrome are used to describe men who view themselves as prototypical nice guys, but whose quote-unquote nice deeds are in reality only motivated by attempts to passively please women into a relationship and or sex. So basically, it describes the dude behind his PSA. And the letter is as follows. It's taped very passive-aggressively to what looks to be a door or window that is closed. And it says, "Okay, ladies, I get it. You don't want a pleasant evening chat. You don't want a gentleman to walk you to your car. You don't want a friendly dude to help you carry your groceries, or hold open the door, or crush the life out of other men that would do you harm. Fine, fear the good guys. I guess we'll just have to suffer through watching you get broken over and over by the scum you think you love. But I want you to know it's not easy and it hurts to see you fall. Wow, poor you. Give the good guys a chance to help you be less afraid of the world." Really? The good guys? Like you, who just basically bashed women as a whole and made some really unpleasant assumptions in so doing? So this guy posts it to Twitter, clearly making fun of the dude who wrote it, saying a 100% non-serial killer thing to do is just print this up and put it all over town with black duct tape. So this guy apparently put it all over town. Adorbs. Yeah. So the article goes on. Though there might be hints of these attitudes in some people who aren't men, they typically manifest in men due to societal roles that say women belong to them. For example, women are often depicted as prizes at the end of video games after male characters complete obstacles, or at the end of movies after male protagonists wait patiently in the quote-unquote friend zone. And again, guys, I really think that this does a lot of harm to you. It's not just harming women. This hurts you. And I think that you are so much better and brighter and more beautiful than that. And you're capable of much more. And I'm really sorry that it does hurt you. And I just want to bring attention to that. And I want to acknowledge that. So again, the article goes on to say, but how do you know when you've encountered quote-unquote nice guy syndrome and when you've just met a genuinely sweet, shy dude who has a bit of trouble in his love life? And again, it's important to make that distinction. So here are a few telltale characteristics of a trademark nice guy. And again, this is going to tie in with some of the lovely messages I read you earlier from my inbox. So number 1, he makes rejection a moral issue. Getting bummed out about rejection is totally normal for people of all genders. It's even normal and healthy to complain about your rejections to your friends. What's not healthy is to behave as if you've wronged someone by turning down a date or sex. Whether or not you want to date someone is beyond your control. It's just not a moral issue. Even if a trademark nice guy doesn't overtly say it was wrong for you to reject him, guilting you, trying to get you to change your mind, and letting you know exactly how much you've hurt him can all have the same effect. And oftentimes, folks, that's geared toward having that same effect. The article goes on to say, yes, rejection hurts, and that's not gender specific. But a situation can be shitty without it being anybody's fault. True dat. Okay, so number 2, he touts his own kindness. There's nothing wrong with being kind, obviously. But when somebody goes on and on about how nice they are, you have to wonder why they need everyone to know that. Being nice should be for its own sake, not so that women will date you or sleep with you as a result. Touting your kindness in opposition to other men also implies that men in general are not kind, which puts men down and maintains a system in which masculinity means disregarding and using women. And I feel, men, that is a standard that you shouldn't be held to. Why should you have to live up to this goofy ass standard and not just be yourself and be genuine and be who you are, right? Okay, so number 3, he doesn't sympathize with women's trust issues. When women are distrustful of men, it's often, of course, not always, but it's often because men have harassed and mistreated them. Yes, quote unquote, hashtag not all men do this. But women don't automatically know which men are responsible for sexism. So it's understandable that women would be wary of men or even people in general. When women are reluctant to talk to a stranger, it's not because they're just being stuck-up bitches. It's because they've had experiences that make them wary. Even if you're not responsible for these experiences, you should try and understand that women are just being rational by basing their decisions on their life experiences. So, folks, a quick, I guess, little rejoinder here. I will say that not only are women or, people in general just stressed out from the amount of contact that people are able to have with us nowadays, right? Like, this is a new thing, being constantly available for anybody to message or call or, what have you. But there is a really, I think, a darker component to all of this too that maybe we haven't considered here. And that is that because of these norms and expectations, oftentimes women have been harassed, even raped, assaulted. And so that is a genuine reason to be wary of people and to not, know who to trust. I think that's a very genuine reason. And I'm sure that men have the same fear. Like, I don't know who to trust. Maybe I've been harassed as a man or as a woman. Maybe I've been harassed, assaulted, raped. I don't maybe know who to trust. So forgive me for not responding perfectly to every single person who ever reaches out to me, right? And I think it compounds the more public you are. I am on just a really small level a public personality, and I can't even imagine how like an A-list celebrity or even a D-list celebrity for that matter, does it, because I get stressed out with the amount of people that have access to me. And I try to be as, respectful and humane as possible. Of course, I also use humor because I'd go nuts if I didn't, and many of us would go nuts if we didn't. But, I try to be respectful. I try to be funny. I try to turn the comment around. I try to, discern, okay, is this person really being a creeper, or could it be that they simply said the wrong thing or were awkward or what have you. Please forgive the sound outside. It's just the fireworks for the Founders Day parade. My bad. I totally knew that it was coming and didn't warn you. Apologies. So anyway, just something to consider. People's personal experiences might include really traumatic things. So please don't judge them for just simply not responding, or not responding right away, or not responding the right way. I think that even, if somebody responds to you very curtly after you've expressed interest, I think that might even be like an invitation for you to say, hey, you know what? You seem really stressed or upset right now. Like, what's going on? Do you want to talk? Like, I'm here. I understand that it can be stressful. I understand that it's probably really tough to receive lots of messages and lots of outreach. No disrespect, no hard feelings if you choose not to answer this message. But if you would like to talk, or if you need a friend, feel free to open up to me in this moment, this one time, right? And then if you want to get to know me later, like we can do that. We can make that happen. I think that's a totally reasonable way to respond to somebody who maybe seems a little irritated or agitated by your message. In addition to, like I mentioned before, sitting and taking inventory of, okay, what exactly did I say? Could it be misconstrued? What were my intentions? I think that's a good combination of sort of behaviors and consideration and messaging, right? Okay, so number 4 in this Bustle article is he puts down other men. And again, that's really, that makes me really sad. Really. That's not okay. So somebody here on Twitter, they're including a tweet here in this article, says, I hate the stereotype that all women are petty bitches and all men are cheating assholes. There's always good men and women in this world. Absolutely. Absolutely. Men with nice guy syndrome, the article says, like to think that they're the exception for being nice, but treating women like people doesn't make you special. You don't get a cookie for it, basically. So treating women like people, I'll say it again, doesn't make you special. I really like what this woman has had to say about this so far. It just makes you a decent human being. Plenty of men will treat women kindly, but nice guys, the trademark nice guys, like to think that behaving kindly earns them a gold star. It doesn't. And really, if you're behaving that way only for recognition, then you're not being true to yourself. And you're not being true to the other person that you're speaking with. You're not being true to anybody, yourself or others. And you're doing yourself a disservice in the process. So yeah, it doesn't earn you a gold star. The article says the real nice guys are those who treat people nicely without expecting any acknowledgement in return. Absolutely. Number 5 is that he views dating as a meritocracy. I'm going to read you what the author has to say about this, too. You don't have to be an equal opportunity dater. Nobody accumulates, kindness points than that then add up to sex or dating. Even if somebody is a great guy who treats you well, you don't have to date him. Same is true for women, guys. That's like saying that just because a shirt fits really well, you should wear it as pants. Just because someone's a really good fit doesn't mean they're a good boyfriend for you. Certain people fit different roles in your life, and that's not wrong. Self-described nice guys might claim that being nice entitles them to a relationship, but true kindness is given without any expectations. That is very true. And that's really the totality of the article, and I think that it's very well done. But I really do think that what they're saying about nice guys often applies to women as well, that there's a nice girl sort of syndrome out there. But with the amount of pressure there is on guys to act a certain way and to fulfill and act out this goofy, trope, this like Prince Charming trope, I can see why men might feel this way and might act this way. But I'm here to help you to hopefully consider a different course of action. I want you to be happy as a man. I want you to also, women, listeners, to be happy as women. And I want us to be able to connect in a meaningful way. So, with all the sort of comedy of what I read you from my inbox, I also wanted to really add some, I guess, intellectual value, if you will. I hope that it has made sense to you. I hope that it's something that you feel resonates with you. And I'd love to hear your experiences. Men, women, I want to hear your experiences. I want to hear about the horrible messages people have sent to you. I want to hear about the inappropriate things people have done or said to you. And I want to hear how you feel about them. This is your chance to vent. This is your chance to just put it out there where nobody's going to judge you. So thank you for tuning in. Feel free to chat in the comments section and just, remember that you're not alone. All right, guys, that'll do it. Have a wonderful evening.